Hi everyone, welcome back to Lifey Technologies YouTube channel, and thank you so much for watching and supporting our channel. So we know that in our channel we have different series. We have a series discussing IP RAN technology, and in that series we describe how to deploy, how to configure, how to design and set up IP RAN technology for service provider networks. We also have another series on Huawei Lab simulation that discusses how to implement, how to configure, troubleshoot, and design different protocols and networking technologies on Huawei routing and switching devices. We also have another series on Nokia Lab simulations where we demonstrate how to configure, troubleshoot, and implement different networking protocols and technologies on Nokia routing devices. So today we are starting a new series on Juniper Lab simulation series, and in this series we'll be demonstrating to you how to configure, how to troubleshoot, how to implement different networking protocols like OSPF, ISIS, BGP, and many other networking technologies on Juniper routing and switching devices. So if you are interested in learning how to manage, operate Juniper devices, kindly subscribe to our channel and stay tuned for upcoming episodes on this Juniper Lab simulation series. So, for our first episode, we'll be focusing just to give you a brief introduction to Junos CLI. So we know that we have many vendors. We have Nokia, we have Huawei, we have Cisco, and then we have Juniper and many others. And as a network engineer, if you can be able to operate and manage different devices from different vendors, it's always a plus because in a service, especially in a service provider networks, you find that we have many different vendors. We could be having Nokia, Huawei, Cisco, Juniper. You could be having even other vendors like Palo Alto firewalls, Fortinet, and many other vendors that are deployed on a service provider networks. So you should be able to understand and be familiar with how to operate, how to manage, and how to troubleshoot different protocols on different vendors. Well, so I've mentioned that we are focusing on just basic introduction to Junos in this episode, and we'll be going through some basic CLI commands that you can run on Juniper devices. So the operating system for Juniper devices, we call it Junos. We know we have iOS for Cisco, we have VRP for Huawei, we have SROS for Nokia. So on Juniper devices, they use an operating system we call Junos. And we have different devices. We have routers. For example, you can see in this setup, we have an MX960. We also have MX480, MX104. So we have different series of MX routers. We also have switches, the QFX, the EX switches, and then we also have firewalls. So we have the SRX 5400, 5800, and many other series of firewalls. So Juniper has routers, for example, MX960. We have switches, QFX, EX switches. We also have firewalls, SRX firewalls. So when you are logging in to Juniper for the first time, many times we have these three operational modes. We have the shell mode. You can see it's indicated by the percent sign. We have the operation mode, and we also have the configuration mode. So the operation mode, you can see it's indicated by the greater sign, and then we have the configuration mode that is indicated with the hash sign. And these three modes are used for different purposes. The operation mode, of course, you can use the show commands, the basic show command that you run on the devices. For the configuration mode, you can now start configuring protocols like OSPF, BGP, interface parameters. So these three modes are available on Juniper devices. And when you are logging in for the first time, many times you will be placed in the shell mode. So once you are in the shell mode, you need to run the CLI command, and then you will be in the operational mode. From the operational mode, you can run the configure command, and then you will be in the configuration mode. So to demonstrate this, let me log into the device. So I'm logged into this is the topology that we are using in GNS3. We have two routers, router 1 and router 2. So we'll just log into one router and show you the different operation modes and how you can navigate them. So on this device, you can see that we have logged in. Remember, the default password is always root. So you use the root. I mean, the default username is root. We don't have a password, so you just enter the username root and click enter. When the password field comes, you just click enter because we don't have a password configured. So on this router, we can click CLI. When we click CLI, you can see that now we are from the shell mode to the operational mode. For the operational mode, we have few commands that we can use. You can see that we have clear, which is used to clear information in the system. Configure, we can enter the configuration mode. You can do file operations. There is help command. You can load, maybe you need to load some configuration file. You have monitor, you have mtrace, you have ping command, you have quit. So maybe you want to go back to the shell mode, use the quit. We also have set, save configurations. You have the show. So the show command is common on many vendors. You can use it on Nokia, you can use it on Cisco. On Huawei, we normally use the display command. So this is the show command that we'll be using to display different informations about the router or the switch or the firewall. Then you can use start shell. So once you are in this operational mode, you can go back to the shell by using the command start shell. So this one will take us back to the shell, or you can exit. You have telnet, you have test, and you have traceroute. So you can see that these are the available commands that you can use when you are in the operational mode on a Juniper devices. Remember, we use CLI and then we are in the operation mode, and you can see the available option, the available command that you can use on a Junos device. So if I type exit, you can see that we go back to the operation, the shell mode. So as you've seen, when we are in the CLI, we can use the question mark. This is a shortcut that you can use. Maybe you don't know the command that you want to run always, be it on Cisco, on Juniper, on Huawei, or Nokia. There is always the question command that will give you the available command that you can run on this device. So on Juniper devices, you can also use the question command. When you are typing, for example, if I want to do configure, I can use the tab command to autocomplete. So you can see that when I just type CON and then I press tab command, I can use it to autocomplete the available commands. So you can, let me just exit again, go back to the configuration mode, I mean the operational mode, use a question mark. It will help you to go to tell you which configuration options you have. You can use the configure command. So once you run the configure command, you can go into the configuration mode. So at this level, you can now start doing your configuration. For example, configure system. No, normally we use the set command. So I will use set. Then you see that we have parameters. Maybe I need to configure system, and then you use the question mark again. I need to configure system name or system host name. So set system host name, and then I can use, maybe this is R1. You can see that this is how you set the system name of this device. And one thing, we can see the available, what we have configured. You can use this command show compare to tell you that you've configured the host name to be R1. And for us to be able to save this configuration, or for it to be active, remember that is still candidate configuration. So for it to be active configuration, we need to use the commit. But before you are able to commit on a new Juniper device, you always have to do the configuration for the root authentication. So it's trying to commit, but it will fail. probably because we haven't configured the root authentication password. Let's give it some time. So I have mentioned that you have the shell mode, the operational mode, and then the configuration mode. And you can both use exit and quit. When you are in configuration mode, you type exit, you will go back to the operation mode, you type exit, you go back to the shell mode. Then for you to change from shell mode to operation mode, you use the CLI command. For you to change from operational mode to the configuration mode, you use configure command. Let's go back to the CLI. It's still committing. It's taking so much time. Let's see on R2. So on R2, I can also configure set. We use the set command system host name, and then I type R2. We can run the command show compare to see. So we are just comparing the active, the candidate configuration that we have. We have lost it. So you can see that we have set the host name to R2. If I try to commit, let's see. So you can see that this one, it's stating that we are missing the mandatory statement for root authentication. So we need to set the root authentication. So I can set system root authentication, and then plain, I can use the question mark. We need to set it to plain text password, and then I can set it to Junos 123, Junos 123. So now if I run show compare, you can see that we have the root authentication password set. I can now commit. We give it some time to finish. So you always have to configure the root authentication password before you can do a commit, especially on a new device that you are integrating in the network or you are logging in for the first time. So the commit command will now make the candidate configuration to be active configurations. Let's see on R1, so it has finished committing. Now if I show compare, I don't expect to have any candidate configurations. So I can exit, or we said you can quit. If you quit, you are exiting the configuration mode, you are back to the operational mode. If I quit again, you can see that we are now to the shell mode. So you use CLI again, you are up back to the configuration or the operational mode, depending on where you are. So what are some basic commands that you can use? The first one is show version. So if we want to check the version of the device that we are managing, we use the show version command, and it will tell you which type of device it is. You can see that this one is giving us VMX because this one is a virtual MX. So that is why we are calling it the VMX. But on a real router, you will have MX, MX960, Juniper QFX 5200, SRX 5800, depending on the version that you have in the network. So it will give you the detailed information about the version. You can see that the Junos version is 14.1R4.8. Then it gives you other details. So you just run the command show version and you should be able to get the version that you are having on the device. So if you've configured any users on the device, you can use the command show system users, and you should be able to get an output of which users are configured on this device. You can see that we have the user root. We can configure new user. For example, if you want to configure new user, configure set system login user, maybe test user. Then when you use question mark, you can see that we can use authentication, plain text password, then Junos 123, Junos 123, password are not equal. Let me just call the same command. We'll use test at 123. test at 123. So you have the user configured. If I run show compare, you can see that we have a new user created. Plus plus means that you are adding some new commands. If it's you are deleting some command, it will be minus minus or hyphen. So from here we can do a commit. I will do a commit, missing mandatory statement, class. So when you are configuring a user, many times you also have to set the class. Let's see, set system login, user test, then class. Maybe we just need user to be operator. Then you can show compare again. So it will create the user and then it will set the class to operator. Then you can see that there is a configured user ID. So from here, I can now commit. We give it some time to finish committing. So the virtual machine, sometimes it takes more time than expected. But on a real router or a switch or a firewall, it should be much, much faster. It shouldn't take that much time when you are doing a commit statement. But of course, it has to check the configuration, check the format, check the syntax to ensure everything is okay before the commit happens. So remember, you can use the show system users. Let's give it time to finish committing. We can go back to router 1, exit router 2. You can check the system alarm, show system alarms. It will give you the alarms available on the system. Show chassis alarms also gives you the hardware alarms available on the system. You can show chassis hardware. You can see that we have the FPC, we have the MIC. For this one, it will give you the details about the hardware, the cards, the boards that you have installed on the device. You will get them here. You can use show chassis environment. Remember, when you are having this router, you always have to monitor things like the temperature, uh, the memory usage, and many other details about the environment. So you can use the show chassis environment command to check the status of the router, the operating environment of the router. Another important command is how do you check the interfaces on the router. So you can run the command show interfaces. So when you run show interfaces, you can see that you can just use that command as it is, or you have other parameters that you can use. For example, you can use the task command or brief. Many times we are using the task command. So when I run show interfaces tasks, this one gives us a summary, less details. So you can easily see which interfaces you have, whether their status is up or down. You can use the detail command, and this one gives you much more detail. You can use extensive, and this one also gives you much more detail about the interfaces. So the next part is showing the configuration. So remember on Nokia we use the admin display config. On Cisco, show running config or show saved configuration. On Huawei we are using the display configuration. So you have all these commands. So for here on Huawei, on Huawei we are using the show display current configuration, not just display configuration. So I can show configuration. You can see that we are having this configuration on this router, and many times you can display it in different formats. So when you run this command, we can pipe it. when we pipe, and then you can see that we have, I show configuration, and then we have display. You can see that you can either display the set command that is used to configure, or you can use the set command, I mean the XML. So we can use the XML. This is the XML format. Many times we display using the set command. So you can see that this one displays clearly which configuration lines were used to configure different parameters. Remember, Juniper also uses a hierarchical architecture of configuration. So when you run just show configuration, you can see that we are having different hierarchies. Under the system, we have this configuration. Under the syslog, we have these configurations. Let's go back to R1 and see whether it finished. So if you are in the configuration mode, if I try to use the show command, you can see that maybe if I run system users, we don't have that configuration, but if I use the run command, so you can use run show system users. So when you are in the operation mode and you want to run the operational mode commands, you can use the run show command. So you use run and then you type the command that you want, and it can always autocomplete for you. So another thing that you can use is to show the log messages exit. So if I run show log messages, this one is a very important troubleshooting tools, because you can see what is happening on the router. Maybe there is a port that is going down, there is a protocol that is flapping, there are some maybe high CPU, high temperature. You can always use the show log command to see what is happening on the router. Another important command that you can use, I've mentioned of the show compare. So when you are doing configuration and you want to compare between the active configuration and the candidate configuration, you can always show pipe compare. When you are displaying the configuration, I've not mentioned that you can show configuration and you can use the protocol. For example, if I want to show just the configurations, show configuration protocol OSPF, it will give me the configurations under the protocol OSPF. So you can always use different formats, but the basic one is just show configuration, then you display set, and that is it. When you've seen that when you are doing the configuration, you always have to do the commit command. So when you do the commit command, it will now change the configuration from candidate configuration to active configuration. So I can do configure set system. Maybe I just need to change the host name to router 2. I can use the show compare command again. You can see that we have this, what I was mentioning. You can see that in front there is a minus, meaning that we have changed the host name from R2, and now we have changed it to the one with the plus, which is router 2. So once you have done this, we need to run the commit. And when you are doing the commit command, you have different parameters that you can use. For example, we can do commit check to see whether the syntax that we have used is okay. Hope it will be faster. We can use commit confirm. This one, the configuration becomes active immediately. We can, let's wait for it to finish. So commit check, you can see that the configuration check succeeds. You can use the other parameters. Commit confirmed. This one, the configuration will roll back after some time that you've specified. You can see that we have the number of minutes until automatic rollback. You can just use commit confirmed. If you just type commit confirmed, it means execute this command immediately, then it will be active. But when you use the timeout, when you set some minutes, for example, you are setting it to 5 minutes, commit confirm 5, the configuration will roll back after 5 minutes. So it will be active and then roll back after 5 minutes. These many times we use it on troubleshooting. Maybe you are configuring something, but you are not very sure whether it will work or not, or maybe it may impact something. So you use the commit confirmed command. You can use commit and quit. Commit and quit, you commit and then you go back to the operational mode. So those are the options available. Commit, confirm. You can see that it's still committing. We have commit confirmed, commit and quit. How do you manage files? For managing files, you can use the file command. When you use the file command, you can see that delete directory, make directory, file list. It will list the files, file copy, file compress, change owner. So this is just like Linux basis operational command. So you can use the file command and you will have the available operations that you can use to operate on files. You can use file copy to copy a file from source to destination. And then how do you manage the devices? I mean the processes. You can use show system processes. So when you run show system processes, you can see the processes that are running on this router. You can use the request command. So request command, maybe you want to kill a process, you want to reboot the router, you can request system. You can see that we have system logout, system reboot, system power off, system power on. So this one can help you to do some maybe system reboot, system halt. So you use the system or you use the request system command. And then for you to check the memory, you just show system memory. You see different processes with their memory usage. You can show system statistics. You can see the packet sent on TCP, UDP, IP, IPsec, ARP, IPv6, and many other details about different protocols, MPLS. So it will give you the protocol statistics on this router. We can show system license. So for system license, it will tell you which licenses you have on this system. And finally, when you want to, maybe a given user is logged in and you want to log them out, you can request system logout user, the username. So these are just some basic commands, some basic CLI commands that we use on a daily basis when we are managing and operating Juniper devices in our network. They are very easy, they are close to the others. They are almost similar to Cisco, similar to Nokia. The only difference with Huawei is that we are using the display command. And these commands, we'll be using them very often when we are doing lab simulations on Juniper. So it's good when you want to learn how to manage devices, you always have to start by the basic CLI commands. And once you are now able to understand the basic CLI commands, you can now move to advanced commands or the advanced configuration task that you can now, because when you are configuring a protocol like OSPF, ISIS, you will have to configure the interfaces, you will have to configure some other things that you will be using. You will need the show command so that you can be able to check the status of the protocol. You will need the ping command. So we also have the ping command similar to the other vendors. We have ping command. You can ping. We have the trace command and many other similarities between these vendors. So I've mentioned that for the hardware we have Juniper routers, different versions, MX960, MX480, MX104, and many other series of MX routers and many other different router versions that I've not indicated here. We also have the QFX switches, we have the EX switches for firewalls. Mainly it's the SRX firewalls. We have 3600, we have SRX 5400, we have SRX 5800, and we will also be going deeper and trying to understand this hardware, different hardware that are made by Juniper as a vendor. So I hope you've enjoyed this session. Please remember to like this video, to comment, to share. And if you are yet to subscribe to our channel, kindly hit that subscribe button to support our channel and also to stay tuned for more upcoming videos. So we'll be having many more other videos illustrating how to configure, how to troubleshoot, how to manage Juniper devices. And again, just remember that we have a series on Huawei, we have a series on Nokia, we have a series on IP run. Kindly do check out, and if you have any question, feel free to reach out. I will be willing to help you to troubleshoot networking issues, to set up your laboratories, and to do anything that you are having a challenge in when it comes to configuring, troubleshooting, or designing different protocols or different networking technologies on Huawei, on Nokia, on Juniper, or even on Cisco. So thank you for watching again, and please hit that subscribe button. Thank you, and see you in our next episode. Bye.